Hello, thank you for listening and watching. This is Empowered by Beauty. My friend Marisa Faircloth here at Restoration Med Spa. I am Lora Songster, and we want to talk about CoolSculpting. We've seen billboards, we've heard about it, and what we're trying to do is eliminate fat. I think most people are. And
Yes, we are.
incredible technology that's been around for how long?
It's been around for probably about 15 years now.
And what is the process?
So, CoolSculpting freezes fat. So any area that you can pinch fat. So we will pinch the fat up and it will be sucked into a little applicator, and that applicator chills that fat. Fat cells will actually die at a temperature that isn't cold enough to damage the rest of your tissue. So those fat cells break down, your body metabolizes them, flushes them out, just like they do with any other cells in your body that replicate and turn over, eliminating that fat pocket. So it is giving you a permanent fat reduction in that area. And I know people come in all the time and they say, does that really work?
Mm-hmm.
It does really work. Now, the CoolSculpting that we're doing now, just like everything else we do, is better now than it was years ago. And if you had CoolSculpting way back when we first had our first device, which was a big gray box, this is a whole nother ball game. It has gone through multiple changes over the years.
And with everything you do, there is continuing education, I like to call it, because you are constantly learning a better way to please your customers and get good results. Now, what areas of the body do people do? I know you said pinching, fat, and for a lot of us, there are several places that come to mind.
So this is a test. So CoolSculpting is FDA approved for 9 areas of the body.
9.
Let's see if I remember them all. Submental, under the chin, the abdomen, bra fat, flanks, the little muffin tops. How many is that? Abdomen,
I don't do math.
bra fats, inner thighs, outer thighs, arms, and banana rolls. Did I get them all?
Banana roll.
Banana roll.
This is new. I have to ask the question.
Banana roll. So the banana roll is the area under your butt.
Oh.
To make it have a nicer, rounder contour instead of flattening it out. It takes that little fat pocket out and makes it a little nicer and tighter.
Look at me learning.
So we can do, honestly, we can do anywhere. Now, this is not one of their FDA approved areas, but we also do here this little pocket of bra fat. So if you have a little pocket of fat that fits the applicator, and that's the key, because we are literally suctioning the fat into the applicator. So back in the old days, the initial device had what we called a parallel plate applicator. So it was fairly deep. So let's say it was about this deep. And it had a chill plate on either side. So we had to suck the fat all the way up here so that it was between these 2 chill plates so that we could get that fat really cold. So that meant that the older devices had a lot more suction. There was a lot more pulling and tugging and shoving to get that fat in the applicator so that you could get that maximum result. And although we got good results, they changed the applicators over time. We have multiple applicators, different shapes, different sizes to fit different areas. We're all shaped different. One applicator does not fit everyone. But now the applicators are a gentle C shape. So we just need the fat to lay against here. So if you don't have enough fat that it only pulls in here and doesn't touch the chill plate, you're not going to get the outcome. So it is a softer curve that allows the fat to hit the applicator a little bit more easily. It requires less suction. It works faster, so we don't have to leave the applicator on as long, making your process a little bit quicker. So the applicators now can pull in 18% more fat than before. That's a lot, but then they also assessed after treatment with ultrasound, and they assessed what percentage of that area that was treated actually got cold enough for the fat cells to be affected. On the original device, which we're gonna call the legacy device, it was 68% of the fat, which is pretty good. The new device, the Elite device, it's now 98. So we're getting almost 20% more fat in there, and we're getting about 30% more of the fat to the appropriate temperature. So you're seeing significantly better results with the same amount of treatment.
And you also need to be aware that some people who may have this technology, they don't have the Elite.
Absolutely.
They haven't invested in the best of the best.
Well, unfortunately, it costs money. You know, applicators cost money, devices cost money.
A lot of money.
A lot of money. So I can just think back to when we got our original legacy device. I think we had 2 applicators, you know, 2 different sizes, a big one and a small one, and that was gonna work somehow. We were gonna make that work. So over the years, they came out with more and more and more and more applicators. And I remember going to a master level training with CoolSculpting, and the person sitting beside me had a legacy device with 2 applicators.
Wow.
By that time, I think we had 6 or 8, but every time a new one came out, we bought that. I mean, we can't give you an optimum treatment if we don't have all the right stuff, but their question was, how do you get rid of what we're gonna call shark bites on the inner thigh? So we have an applicator that is flat because it fits against the inner thigh. Flat, because the inner thigh happens to be flat. Your abdomen is not, your abdomen is rounded. What they were doing is using an abdomen applicator on the thigh. Now a curved applicator won't fit along the thigh, so they used it around the thigh. Well, the good and bad news is CoolSculpt really does work. So now this person, instead of having a straight thigh, now has a shark bite because they used an inappropriate applicator, but they didn't feel like it was worth the investment to buy more applicators. Now you can't fix that. So there are risks of anything and everything you do, CoolSculpting included, but the risks are mostly due to the provider. So it's due to getting the right treatment, you know, making sure that you're treated appropriately, that we're using the right applicator, that we're covering the area adequately. If you have an area, your abdomen, say it requires 6 applicators to fully cover it, and we decide we're gonna make 4 work, you're gonna have areas that are missed, and you're gonna have lumpy, bumpy, uneven results. So I think a lot of the things that people might hear about or read about are easily prevented, but it costs money. And when the Elite came out and it was a whole nother device that was more than $250,000, do you invest in better technology for better outcomes, or do you make the other one work? We chose to invest in the new technology, and our patients are really happy with the good results.
You trust the professionals that continue to make it better and better and better for you. That's just so important. Now let's talk about, CoolSculpting was the original, but there are a lot of, I can say this because I'm not a medical practitioner, but but imposters or wannabes out there, and I know that there are some treatments that use heat.
Right.
And what's the difference or the benefit of cold over heat?
That is a great question, Laura, because CoolSculpting was the original one out there, and you know, this is a big market. A lot of people work hard at removing their fat, and they are at a point that they are willing to pay for a procedure to help do that. So CoolSculpting, when they came out, the process of breaking down fat with cold is called cryolipolysis. They patented that technology. And unfortunately for all the other companies out there who wanted to get on the fat reduction bandwagon, cold was off the table. They had a patent on using cold, and so they had to look at other methods to damage or destroy fat. So what cold does is it freezes the outer cell, the coating, the outer part of the cell, and then the fat cell just breaks down and flushes away. It's kind of a slow, gradual, natural process. They can't use that. So you can destroy fat with heat. And I'm going to compare it to a stick of butter.
Okay.
So think about melting butter. You get a fry pan. It has to be hot enough for that butter to melt. If it's warm, it won't. It needs to be of adequate heat. But the problem with using that to reduce fat is that heat isn't controllable or containable. So if I'm heating your abdomen, everything's hot, your skin's getting hot. Imagine putting your hand in that fry pan. You're gonna damage skin and other tissues. So it's very difficult to control the heat to be hot enough to damage fat, but not hot enough to damage anything around it. And typically it requires a lot of treatments and usually much less outcome.
And when we talk about treatments where CoolSculpting is involved, you don't come in once. It's a gradual.
So with CoolSculpting, it really depends on how many areas we're going to treat and how many cycles we need to get you that complete treatment. But let's use the abdomen. On the abdomen, on average, most people will require 4 to 6. So in the legacy device, the old device, we had 1 handpiece on that device, which meant it took 6 different placements. So we would place one on there, we would wait for that cycle, which was 45 minutes to an hour. We would take it off, we'd massage out that area, and we'd move to the next one. That means you and I are spending a day together. Right. You know, we're gonna be here all day getting your abdomen done. The legacy device, now we have the Elite. So the Elite device is now faster. So now we are doing each area in 35 minutes. So that's almost half. And we have 2 handpieces working at a time. So for most people, we might be able to do one at the upper abdomen and one at the lower abdomen at the same time. So now we're cutting down our treatment time for you to make it easier. I mean, I know you like spending time with us, but you may not want to spend all day with us, but it's a relatively comfortable procedure. You're laying in a nice bed, you're watching Netflix. You know, we wait on you hand and foot. We're bringing you snacks, we're bringing you water. It's not an unpleasant experience. If you feel like you want to take a nap, you can. If you want to work, bring your laptop, work. You can do whatever you want sitting, laying in that bed. Unfortunately, for most people, the heat-based devices are not comfortable. They're painful, and a lot of people can't even tolerate the temperature necessary to actually affect heat, to affect the fat.
And let's touch on, there have been some kind of almost a scare tactic. I can think of one Hollywood actress or model, I don't know which one she is, doesn't matter, not giving her any publicity, but she did get bad results. And
Yes.
that's, you hear about these negatives, but what I want to relate to those of you watching and listening is all the prevention is here and all the education is here, and you need to do it the right way.
So, like I tell people, no matter what you do, there are risks and benefits to everything you do. And we will not minimize any risk to any procedure, and every patient needs to make their own decision. So even if we're doing Botox, if we're doing a facial, you could have a reaction to some product we put on your face, and we're not gonna tell you that that can't occur. Every procedure has its risks. One of the most uncommon, but probably one of the most severe risks that can occur with CoolSculpting is what we call PAH, or paradoxical adipose hyperplasia. Long word to say your fat does not break down with CoolSculpting for one reason or another. The cold actually triggers your fat to either replicate or become firmer. And so the area that you're treated, instead of having squishy soft fat, now it's kind of firm and hard, which is not at all what anyone is looking for when they have CoolSculpting. Again, it is very uncommon, and fortunately it is so uncommon that Allergan, the parent company of CoolSculpting, has treated every person who had it by giving them whatever they need to correct it. And typically it would be liposuction. Liposuction is an alternative to CoolSculpting. So if you did not get the outcome and you developed this reaction, they would pay for you to go and have liposuction, which would correct it all. Now, nobody wants that. Nobody wants to have a side effect. If you chose to do CoolSculpting instead of liposuction, it was for a reason. Sometimes it's cost. Sometimes you want to do something that sometimes is less expensive, maybe they're comparable, there is less downtime and recovery with CoolSculpting, but in the long run, you did get the outcome that you wanted to get. And there are some people who are not willing to take that risk. That's okay. There are people who choose to do liposuction instead of CoolSculpting because that's the choice they want to make.
And that's what works for them, and that's your whole kind of the thought behind everything you do is what results do you want, and how do we make those happen. And one of the things that I'm sure people say is, does it work? And you have had a couple of people, a man and a woman,
Yes.
Agree to put the fat out there in front of God and everybody.
That's
very
right.
brave.
Very brave.
But we can actually see online the change.
So we have two. We have a man and a woman, and the man that we did actually is a physician. He's a forensic pathologist, so he's quite intelligent. He did his research, and he said, I researched other things, and I decided this was the best procedure for me. He was willing to let us document his entire journey and showed people, this is what I looked like before. He works out. He has 2 little kids. He said, I just don't have time anymore to spend in the gym as much as I would like to, and I just don't want this little bit here and there. So we do have videos of that. That's available on our YouTube channel. It will be available on our website. And then we have a young mom who also has kids, but that affected her body more than just not being able to go to the gym. And she said she was working out. She was doing everything she knew how. She said, I got to a certain point and then I just couldn't budge. And she wanted just to go that little bit extra. and use CoolSculpting to do that. So she is on there documented as well, showing her before photos, her after photos, and sharing her experience. I think people have multiple questions when it comes to CoolSculpting. Of course, they're worried, is it really gonna work? You know, am I gonna spend this money and is it gonna be worthwhile or am I wasting it? And that's a valid concern. But they're also worried, is it gonna hurt? You know, what is the process like? Is it worth it in the end? And I think by watching someone else's journey and seeing that this isn't overnight, it is not an instant result. You don't do the CoolSculpting today and zip up that dress tomorrow. You know, it is a slow process. But as those fat cells break down, you are going to see slow and gradual improvement over the next 3 to 4 months. Some people might do that one treatment and that will get them right where they want to be and they are good to go. And other people have more to work with, so they may need to come back in a month or so and repeat that treatment. Or maybe they don't need to repeat the whole thing, but there's a few areas that they need to tweak a little bit.
Well, I think it's, they're local people that come to this very building, and you know, sometimes you see before and afters and you're thinking, is that even the same person? The skin tone doesn't quite match here. Something's a little wonky. But gratefully they agreed to do that, and you can see real people who have the same issues that so many of us do. A little extra here or there and not enough time.
Right?
And I don't know, zipping up a dress or your favorite pair of pants or jeans and it not hurting or gouging into you, you know, if you're in the abdomen area. I mean, it's such a great feeling.
It is. And Kelly, our female, was just stuck. You know, she said, I'm doing everything I know how to do. I can't get any further and I don't feel good about myself. You know, I still haven't lost that. Now, William was fit. You know, he wasn't extremely overweight, but he still felt the same way. And it's kind of interesting to hear his story because we don't necessarily think of that with men, that they're uncomfortable, that you're just uncomfortable with your body. And sometimes we can't control it all. You know, we want to, and it doesn't mean that this is a license to not care, because we are removing fat cells, but we're not, you know, this is something that you have to control just ongoing. We will remove, on average, 20 to 25% of the fat cells in that area. So that means those are gone forever. Even if you gained weight, you can't gain as much in that area because you don't have the capacity for it. That doesn't mean you should go out and eat donuts and pizza every day. You know, we have to be logical, but it is giving you a long-term benefit.
It's amazing the body's ability to do that and the technology behind it. And again, going to the best of the best.
It's like magic.
It's kind of like, you know, watching the Jetsons and all of these things, you know, they're coming to pass.
I wish I'd have thought of it.
I bet you do. I don't know that we'd still be sitting here.
Yeah, we might be somewhere else, but no, but I'm glad someone thought of it because it helps so many people and it's really easy. You know, there's no surgery, there's no risk. Talking about risks, you know, there's risk of anesthesia, there's surgical infection risk, there's so many potential things that can happen. It does minimize those risks. So you're not taking time off work, you're not facing all those potential surgical risks, and you're not have to worry about recovery. You have a process, but it's internal. You're going about doing everything you want to do, and it's just doing its own thing.
I think not only the physical transformation, but the maybe emotional transformation in a person. When you get out of the shower and you go, you know, you're looking like, what happened? What happened to me? Like, I know I had 2 kids, but seriously, I'm eating broccoli and chicken breast and but I can't get to where I wanna be. And, you know, in many cases, starting your day on the negative,
Right.
and I don't think you can quantify how feeling better about whether it's your face, your chin, your thighs, whatever it is that puts you in a downward spiral.
It's so worth it because people have certain things that just eat away at them. And, you know, you may look at them and go, that looks fine.
Mhm.
But it's not about that. It's about you feeling good in your skin. And if it's one little area that you can't control and do, and we have the ability to help you do it, it's a great option.
It's a great option, and that is if and only if you go to the right provider, which of course is Marisa Faircloth here
And my staff.
at your staff.
I don't do CoolSculpting anymore, so if you come here, you will see one of our other staff. But speaking about ongoing training, we are training 3 more staff members to do CoolSculpting. So we will have a lot of faces here that have the ability to treat you should you decide to do CoolSculpting.
Well, that's fantastic, and the new Elite machine, and there's some new pricing things coming that people will be happy to hear about.
Yes, there is, because CoolSculpting has traditionally been kind of pricier than some of the other procedures we do. I think in the long run, it's worth the outcome, but it is a little bit more investment than some of the other things that we do. But part of that is there's a lot of cost to CoolSculpting. It's not one of those things that we do and we don't have an investment per patient. So we are going to be changing some of our pricing. It will allow people to treat to their full outcome. So it's rather than buying, okay, you're going to buy 6 applications to treat your abdomen one time, and then we're going to come back and reassess and go, okay, maybe you need 6 more. That means you come back and you pay for 6 more. What we're doing is we're setting up a program where we will give you a flat fee. And that means if you're totally happy after one treatment cycle, you're good to go. But if you still need to come back and do more, that will be part of your initial price. And you won't need